Now, Kinder, we're starting perek ches of the Maimer. If you look at the Google Docs page, you will see that I put up two things. I put up the regular questions, and the questions encompass the whole perek, although the question sheet is probably going to change. There are 10 questions, and it encompasses the whole of perek ches. And like I said, this will probably change as we go through the perek. The Revaila, these are the questions. But what's very important is I want you to see that along with the questions, I put up a copy of the Shas Mitzvas Hatefilla, which is one of the Rishonim. It's just so wonderful to read a Rishon. Rishonim just have such clarity. A Rishon straight through, no confusion whatsoever. And I wrote very little. I just wrote names of people. I made lines. The tshuva has a long introduction. Then you have the part of the second part is negir to us. The third part is a very interesting discussion about Kabbalah and Sfarim of Mekubalim. And the last part is about somebody who apparently was Nishpunkt Azay, wie es darf zu sein in Inyoni Kabbalah. In other words, you can divide the tshuva into four parts. The part that's negir to us is the second part. And you'll see I made lines through the page. The first 10 lines is one piece, and the next 25 lines is the second piece, and the next 20 lines after that is the third piece. If you look at the tshuva, you'll see I broke it up. I also underlined the names of all the people who are mentioned in the tshuva, and the names of all the important sfarim, which are mentioned in the tshuva. As well as Rab Shem Tov Ben Gon and Yehuda Halevi. I did this not because it was negeya. You don't need it for the shiur. I did this because this is such good stuff. It's so intriguing. It's really good stuff. Okay, so I'm just telling you the Shas Teshuvas Rivash is there. The truth of the matter is you don't have to look at the Tshuva of the Rivash because the Tzemach Tzedek quotes it. But for those who are interested, it's there, and I think it's wonderful. It's just wonderful to read a Rishon talk about anything, especially Kabbalah. Now, Rabbi Say, I just want to say a statement. The statement is that perek ches and perek tes go together. Perek ches is really a shaila. He doesn't get to the shal to the last 7 lines of the perek, 7 lines of the perek. And perek tes is a teretz. One of the Rishonim asks a kasha on us. The kasha that this Rishon asks is, even if it's true that there's such a thing called Yedim Lechavim B'Shem, that if you know the Kavonis and you know the Shemis, so you can be Mechavan the way Elakusis Mislabish and Sfiris, why are we not better off, quote, Lihispala Leda Zehatinik, to be simple? Even if it's true that the different names of the Eibush have to do with the Elakus, which is Mislabish and different Sfiris, and again, for those of you who have been here in the long haul, you know that there's two shittas in this. The shittas Pardes, the oil which is Mislabish in the Keli, and the shittas Habal Shem Tov, the Elakus of Keli itself, and the Kasha is Aposhita. The Rivosh brings from one of the Rishonim, his name is Reb Shimshon Mikinun, the Kinun, and I'm sure Menachem Mendel Ezer knows who he is. Why bother? Ani mispal atinik. Even if it's true that the kavonas are important and the shemis are real and there's no shalv and hepech achtos, but isn't it better? Ani mispal atinik. Isn't it better? We should have them simple. This kasha that Tzemach Tzedek answers. The answer is in perek tes. So perek ches and perek tes are going to be learned together. They go as a unit. They go as an achtos. Okay? So we're going to start to read the beginning of perek ches. V'hine. I'm reading inside. Please look inside. You know what? If somebody wants to say something now, speak up. If I said something too fast or was unclear, ask me and I'll clarify. I just want to say good morning to everybody. Avram Baruch, Rabbi Yisrael, Rabbi Blau, Menachem Mendel Berel, Meir Zev, Eliezer Tzvi, Shalom Dei Ber HaTzadik, Menachem Mendel Ezra, Hagoen, Menachem Mendel HaTzadik, Reb Chaim, Hatomim, and Yisrael Tzemach HaNister. Good morning to all of you. Yisrael Tzemach has a rectangular gray sticker that says Tzemach Wolf with two F's. Okay. So good morning to everybody. It's nice to see you all, and I mean it with my whole heart. Vehine, we're reading inside Perek Ches, B'Masha Kosov, based on what we learned in the last bunch of Prague, but specifically in Perek Zayin, where we brought the conflicting Maimorei Chazal, and we resolved them in light of what we learned in the Prakim Beis, Gimel, Daled, Hey, and Vov. And the conflicting Maimorei Chazal were, on the one hand, Eilov Eleilah Midesef. On the other hand, Yedim L'chavim B'Shem. And we resolved it. We made the two work together. How did we remove the kasha of Eilov Eleilah Midesef on the one hand, and Yedim L'chavim B'Shem on the other hand? Because we said, Chas v'Shalom, to say we're davening to the Midas of the Sfiris. We're davening to the Eibishter. But Kvayochol, the Eibishter, the way he comes into the Midas and the Sfiris. And if you remember in the last Perek, the Rebbe also mentioned the union of Nekudes, Nikud, which is Mechaber the Eid and the Keli. Because unless you have a Schutz Godel Miyoid, you can, Kvayochol, it's much easier, Kvayochol, to daven to the Eibishter. And the Eibishter is going to give you what you want if you Yedim L'chavim B'Shem. It's true, Take, that the Eibishter doesn't have such limits. He can do whatever he wants. But the Eibishter was kind enough to, so to speak, bring himself close to us, that we should daven without being on the Madrega of Chaneh, and without davening for things which are negated at the Nishmasenu. And the Eibishter should answer our tefillahs. But in order for this to work, you have to be Yedim L'chavim B'Shem. This is more or less what you said in Perek Ches. So the Rebbe begins Perek Zayin. What we said in the last Perek about the Yishuv between the different Maimorei Chazal. Yevua Lonu, Yishuv Nochen, we'll have an explanation. A good teretz, Lekushef Harivosh Zal, Rabbi Yitzchak B'Reb Sheshes, he's one of the Rishonim, Rabbi say. The Rivosh is a Rishon. They printed over, have a whole bunch of Sfarim from an organization that's called Eir HaMizrach. Eir HaMoire printed over a bunch of Chuvas from Rishonim. And one of the Chuvas that they printed over was the Chuvas of the Rivosh. It's just beautiful to have Chuvas of Rivosh in Azar Shenim format. B'Chuveisav and his Chuvas. Now, Rabbi, I want you to understand that Tzemach Tzedek's real interest is what he's going to say in the next Perek, Perek Tes. Perek Ches is Arichos HaDvorim in explaining the Chuvas HaRivosh, but the Tzemach Tzedek is really interested not in explaining Chuvas HaRivosh, but answering a kasha that remains unanswered in Chuvas HaRivosh. In the Chuvas HaRivosh, there's a kasha which is not answered. Tzemach Tzedek wants to answer that question. It's important to the Tzemach Tzedek to answer that question. However, before the Tzemach Tzedek answers that question, he goes through the Tshuva and studies it with us. And that's what we're going to be doing now. B'Tshuvais of Siman Kufnan Zayin, ala machavnim b'tfilosom b'yin asfiris. Those who are machavin and they're davening in sfiris. Now, so the way the Tshuva starts, again, I read the Tshuva. You have to understand, the Shoyim, the Hebrew is different. They use words different than we do. It's like a 10-line introduction where he's writing to this man, whose name is Reb Amram Bereb Meruam, Yud Aleph, I guess means Yirei Elikim. And he refers to like 3 or 4 different letters that they wrote back and forth. I'm sure you got my first letter, I'm sure you got my second letter, I'm sure you got my third letter. If you didn't get it, tell me, I'll send it to you again. The first 10, 11 lines are Pashat Ashalom Aleichem. And then he answers the question of this Yid, who asked him about the Inyan HaSfidis. You're talking as Mana Rishonim. In other words, you're talking before people were learning Zayar, really. I mean, Zayar, yeah, I guess before people were learning Zayar. The Zayar was discovered a long time ago in this Mana Rishonim. I mean, but after the Ramban and after the Rabbeinu B'Chayev, some people say had the Zayar. This Shavas Chuvas Rivosh mentions the Ramban, and he speaks about the Ramban a little bit critically. He says the Ramban got too caught up in Kabbalah. That's what he writes. But in any case, this Rishain, the Rivosh, answers those who do kavanah through the spheres. In other words, our dilemma, our maimed, about Eila v'Leila Midesa versus Yedim L'Chavim B'Shem. And he says that Tzemach Tzedek, the first thing I'm going to do is Lahatik Tzas L'Sheni. Tzemach Tzedek quotes word for word from Tshuvas HaRivosh, word for word. V'Zel L'Sheni. And remember, the Tzemach Tzedek starts in the middle of the Tshuva. If you want to see the whole Tshuva, it's here. Okay, I sent it to you in the PDF. If you go to the Google Docs page where you have the questions for the Maimorim, so right next to the sheet for today's class, there's also a PDF with this Tshuvas HaRivosh. Okay. He says, one time I asked him, La Makubal Don Yosef Zal, to the Makubal Don Yosef, it's impossible that this Don Yosef is the Abarbanel. First of all, the Abarbanel is not known as a Makubal. Second of all, the Abarbanel lived after the Rivosh. It's another Yid named Don Yosef. Sheshivchum Eid Rivosh, that the Rivosh praises him very much. Huh?
Is Don Yitzchak.
Correct. Okay, thank you for the correction. Don Yitzchak, Ataz Gad. Sheshivchum Eid the Rivosh praises him very much. He was a big expert in Talmud and a big chassid. The expression that he uses is er Yishmak. I'm not going to find it. The Oisprachen that he has, describing people in a very Gishmak. Okay, I read through the Tshuva this morning, but I'm not going to find it right now. Okay, I don't want to waste my time and your time. And this is the question that the Rivosh asked. Now, the Rivosh is a Ruach HaKodesh. The Rivosh is Torah. Understand that. The Rivosh is not just a nice guy who's giving a shir. The Rivosh is a Ruach HaKodesh. And his words are the words of God. Mamish. And he says to him like this, Eich atam ha-mukubalim. How do you mukubalim? Bebracha asks, Mechavim Sfira Yadua. In one bracha, you mekaven to one Sfira. Ubebracha acheres, l'sfira acheres. In a different bracha, you mekaven to a different Sfira. And he says, V'oid. And moreover, the question is, Hachi yesha l'kus l'sfiris. Are the Sfiris God? She is spal adam lehem person daven to them. So there's two questions. Number one, how could you daven to one Sfira in this bracha, another Sfira in this bracha? And b'chlau, are the Sfiris the Eibishter? Fana oisprach, a very sharp expression from another Yid who says, the Christians believe in 3 and the Mekubalim believe in 10. Rachmana litzlan. He's asking him a kasha about Sfiris. V'onali. So Rabban Yosef the Mekubal is answering the Rivosh. Chalila, God forbid, Shetia Hatefilla, that you should think of davening Ki'im L'Shem Yizbarach. The only one we daven to is the Eibishter himself. Ila Se'iles, who's the cause of all causes. Aval Hadavar Hazeh. But this idea, which is called Yedim L'Chavim B'Shem. Now remember, Yedim L'Chavim B'Shem is a medrash. And a medrash is 1,500 years ago. So, way before the Rivosh, this idea of Kavana was already on the table. So he's answering him. Kikimoy, for example. Now, there's a long mashal, and I want you to know that the Tzemach Tzedek goes out of his way to explain the mashal, because the Tzemach Tzedek is afraid we're going to misunderstand it. I'm going to read inside now, okay? If a person has an argument with his person, so he comes to the king and says to the king, listen, me and Shmuel have a big machlekes, Ariv. We need to have a din Torah. Will you be our judge? Says the Don Yosef HaMekubal. Yivakesh mimenu. So he's asking from the king, sheyitzava el hayeshiv al hamishpat, that he's asking the king to speak to that guy who's in charge of judgment. That means the judge. Sheyodin le, that he should be the judge. Loi sheyitzave zeh el haseichen. He will never say to the king, please ask the treasurer, the minister of treasure, to judge. Hamamun ala eitzris, that's in charge of the treasury. Kitia sheilasi betas. That would be a mistake. If you come to a king and say, listen, I need to be judged, and you're asking the king, tell the people who are in charge of the judgment department the attorney general, if you will, to judge me. He's never going to say to the king, ask the person who's the head of the treasury to judge me, because it would be wrong. And the opposite is also true. If he's asking the king to give him a gift, a matana, he'll never say to the king that he should tell the attorney general that he should give him a king, but rather if he wants the king to give him, what do they call it in America today? A stimulus, yeah? If you want the king to give you a stimulus, who are you going to ask the king to ask? The head of the Treasury Department, whatever they call him. I forgot what there's a name for it. Additionally, if the man wants the king to give him wine, he's going to ask, he's going to ask the king to ask the saramashkim, the one in charge of drinks, right, the bartender, that he should give him to drink. And if he wants bread, he's going to ask the king to ask the one in charge of breads that he should give him bread. So this Rishon Don Yosef uses a simple marshal. You need something. So you come to the king and you ask the king to go to the right person, whether he is the Dayan, the Shofet, or he's the Seichen, or the Sara Mashkim, or the Sara Oifim, and say, please, I need from this department kach v'kach. Now, Chevra, I want to say this up front. This marshal, the pashtus, can create huge problems. Why? Because the marshal sounds like there's free will, right? There's the person making the request, that's me and you. There's the king, that's the Eibishter. And the king speaking to the attorney general or to the finance minister or to the one who's in charge of agriculture, as if there's a bunch of different people there. A bunch of different people, and free will is a heipchachtus. So the Tzemach Tzedek is going to dedicate more than half a perek to explain the mashal. In other words, the mashal as it's brought from Rabbi Yosef HaMekubal is not as edel as we would use. Not chas v'sholem that Don Yosef HaMekubal had a magushim de kasoga in Sfidus. But Don Yosef HaMekubal figured that we have seichel. Tzemach Tzedek is afraid that we don't have seichel. So Tzemach Tzedek is going to explain by arichis what he means in his mashal. You'll see it on the next page. So let's continue. This is still the quote from Shal Shuvas Harivosh. 4 lines from the bottom of page 234. Kach, the same as the Chubin Yonat when it comes to daven. Shila Oilam says Don Yosef HaMekubal to Rabbi Yitzchak B'Reb Sheshes in Shuvas. When a Yid davens, La Oilam, he always davens, La Ilas HaIleis, the daven to the Eibishter. It's called the cause of all causes. Ella, the only thing is, Shemechaven HaMachshava. Even though you daven to the Eibishter, you're having a kavana. Lahamshech HaShefa La'isa Sfira. That the Eibishter should give shefa. That means flow, life, lebendigkeit, light. La'isa HaSfira HaMesyacheses La'isa Davash M'Rakashalov. To that Sfira that is connected to this thing that he's asking for. If you're asking for bread, let's say, you need chesed, yeah? So you're talking to the Eibishter. But your kavana is that the Eibishter should put a shefa through this midah so that you get bread and not, I don't know what, nails. Kamei Shetema, for example, Sheberchas ala tzadikim. If you're davening for tzadikim, by the way, ala tzadikim is one of the most underrated brachas in Shmoneh Esrei. Who pays attention to ala tzadikim? Does anybody know? This is one of Rabbi Paltiel's Mishigasan, my Mishigasan. What's the most important word in the bracha of ala tzadikim? Ala tzadikim, that's right. V'aleinu. Ala tzadikim, v'ala chasidim, v'al zik amcha beis Yisrael, v'al sheres pleitis beis Ephraim, v'al geri hatzedek, v'aleinu. Ala tzadikim is a bracha for Yidden. Which of the 19 bracha of the Shmoneh Esrei we're davening for Jewish people? It's ala tzadikim. And that's why you finish off Mishon or Miftach. The Eibishter supports us. Yamuna, that we should have betach and the Eibishter. Ala tzadikim is a very important bracha. We're davening for us. And what are we asking for? That we should have a tach in the Eibishter. It's a very important brach. So if you're davening for ala tzadikim, you're chavan l'sfira nika chesed. You're kavan for chesed. Shemidas harachmin, which is rachmin. Or bebirchas haminim, which is the bracha before that speaks, unfortunately, about the apikursim. And I'm sure you know that the Gemara says that the original there were only Shmoine Esri, there were only 18 brachas. Then later, because of the tzodas that they had, they added Brachas Amina, the bracha of Apikursim, the 19th bracha. Yechavenas L'Sfira, Nika Gvura Shomidis Adin. Vehekesh Alzen. The meaning of the three words Vehekesh Alzen means, and you should say the same principle by all the other brachas and all the other spheres. Okay, now turn to page Kufit Ches. Says the Tzemach Tzedek, says the Rivosh, this was explained to me by the aforementioned Chassid, and then the Rivosh writes, he's right. Huh? The Rivosh says that is gerecht. There's no Avodah Zarah here, there's no 10 gods over here. The Rivosh writes, I heard this from the Mekubal Don Yosef Zal, what he's saying is correct. But now he has a new problem. What's the new problem? Omno. However, we explained how be mechaven b'shem is not avodah zarah, it's not kfida, because you're davening to the Eibishter and you're having a kavanah that the shefa should come through this midah and sfira. But why bother? Look inside. Mi machnes eisonu b'chol zeh. Who's forcing us to get into this mess in the first place? Halei tevli is stam. It's true, Take. It's Take true. The Yedim L'chavim B'Shem is correct, and it's not Hepech Achtos, and it's Galt Napitera, and all the Sachen. But why bother? L'tev L'Spal Stam. It's better to have him plain. L'Shem Yisborach, to the Eibishter himself. B'Kavana, with the Kavana, that he knows what he's doing. V'hu Yeda, he'll know. Be'eze Derech Yashlam HaMavukash, how to satisfy your request. K'mayim Erakoslo, like it says in the Pasuk, Gay, this is from Kufyates, which we all say every single day. You roll your darachim onto the Eibishter, and you trust him. The Eibishter will figure out. You have to be mechaven b'shem. The Eibishter knows how to put it together. The Eibishter veis v'tzamishtal. You have, I always mention to you the Hayayim of Chav Chasivn. Right? What's the quote? Medav taka wissen the darachim seil misalyenim. But there's another Hayayim. What's the other Hayayim? Anybody know?
You can have kavanah as if you had all the
kavanah. Otazei! I could kiss you. Yud Aleph Oder Aleph. I'm reading inside. Yodua umekubel be'inyan hakavanah shebetfila. It's known when it comes to the kavanahs and tefillah. This is Yud Aleph Oder Rishon. And Hayom Yom. Asher elu shein daitum yofa lechaven. People who can't have the kavanahs of Kabbalah. And believe me, none of us can. Mipnei had that idea because we don't know. Or mipnei she'ein b'cheicham liskir kavonis piratis beis atfila. You don't have enough of a memory to remember the kavonis. So it's a davar yadua. The Frierdiker Rebbe says yadua matspik. It's enough. Sheichavnu kavana close. Have a basic kavana. What's the kavana? Leyes filasa in the shmas lefon of Yisbarach. That our prayer should be heard in front of the Eibishter. Im kala kavanas hamavuadim misifri Kabbalah. With all the kavanas of the Kabbalah. So there's two Hayom Yoms. There's a Hayom Yom which is really negated to this Maimer. Chav Ches Sivan. Men darf Take wissen. Darf Hatefilla wissen. Du werk to the Heicholos Yonim. And then of course right away the Rebbe Marash finishes. Not a smach nishtes. That's not the most important thing. It's the Iki Sab Machush. In the Yidden HaTevetan, but it does say you got to know the roadmap. This is Chav Chasivim. Yud Aleph, or that Aleph Tzemach Tzedek says, what if the Rebbe says, other Rebbe says? If you don't know, you should just have a kavanah that the Eibishter should consider your davening as you have mechavan all the kavanahs. So, this Mekubal, whose name is Shimshon of Kinan, says, I feel you're a big Mekubal, and you know the Shemus, and you have a good memory, and you can be mechavan. Why bother? Talk to the Eibishter like a child. Let's read it inside. This was said by a great Rav and a great Gon. And by the way, the Rivosh mentions him at the beginning of the Tshuva as well. At the beginning of the Tshuva, when he's bringing all of the reasons not to daven al pi Kabbalah, he also brought this to Shimshon McKinnon. He brings him twice. Okay? And he says these words. Sheskarti lamal that I mentioned before. Chevra, these are some of the most important words in all of Chassidus. Ani mispale leda ze atinik. The Rebbe said these words over and over again. Ani mispalel ada ze atinik. I dive into the mind of a little child. The Rebbe spoke about it. Told us Nun Beis, which is one of the most important Haskalah weeks of the Tkufa from Chavches Nissen. Told us Nun Beis. It's two Mugide Kesiches. Two. Sehr feierdige Kesiches. And one of the Sichas, the Rebbe talks about the infant Kavona, of children. Yechida and Hechafa Yechida, Meyachinei Mishinase. And the Rebbe brings this Lashon from here. I daven like a child. Sure, Kavona is a good Zach. Yedim Lechav Meshem is a good Zach. A child says, Oiberster. What does he mean, Oiberster? The Rebbe spoke about this many times. A child says, what's Oiberster? I am now sitting in my basement. So my kitchen is Oiberster. It's above me. But of course you understand that your kitchen also has an Oiberster. Who's my kitchen's Oiberster? The Barrises who live on the second floor. But the Barrises also have an Oiberster because above the second floor there's a roof, and above the roof there's a sky, and above the sky there's Shmei HaShamayim. When a child says Oiberster, he doesn't know what it means. He just knows it's bigger than him. And a child is not fancy. And when he talks to the Oiberster, he's talking as the Lashon HaYidua is Muhusei v'atzmusei yizbarich, or as the Rebbe says it, Atzmusim hus. On Chochmas. So the Rivash says like this. Hey, there's a controversy about Kavonis and about Sfiris. He says, number one, I want you to know it's Eisgehalten. Right? Or in his words, Vutayv Moit. Eisgehalten. I met an old Makubal, his name is Abdon Yosef Zal, and he explained it to me, and I accept his explanation. But this is not the only issue. The first issue is, are you allowed to be Mechavim B'Shem? Is it not Hebech Achtas? And the second question is, why bother? And that's what he's speaking to now. I'll read 3 lines into the page. This is what the Shimshon of Kinan said. Quote, I daven like a child. Kloima, this means, I don't want to do what the Kabbalah are doing. They're davening to Sfiris. Now, Reb Shimshon the Kinun held that you're not allowed. The Rivash is not saying you're not allowed. He's saying you're finished allowed. Why? Zetev made. But why bother? And that's how the Tshuvas HaRivash finishes, really. This part, the Tshuvas HaRivash, like I told you, then has a whole section. It's very interesting on Sfarim. He brings different Sfarim of Mekubalim and good Svarim and bad Svarim, v'chuli, which Svarim are Oizgehalten. The Rivash is defending Kabbalah. Almost he's defending Kabbalah. And his clarity is lucid. It's arishin. It's so clear. It's just delightful. He's not mefakfik. Every question that this guy asked, he answers clear. Clear about Malachim and about Svidis, which is higher, and so on and so forth. And then he goes through a list of Svarim, and one of the Svarim whose name he doesn't mention, he doesn't like. Sefer Sheramasta Elav. But he doesn't say what the name of that sefer is. That guy looks like was a bit off the beaten path. But he brings 4 different Svarim. I mentioned it before. Tzuras Elam and Tzreid HaMeid and Rav Polim and Shara Shamayim. And says, oh, they're good Svarim. A Pikabala. But the Rivash's issue is afilu, even though it's emes, that Kabbalah is emes and Kavanas Hashem is emes and it's Teiv Me'ed and it's not a Stirid Aks Hashem. Why bother? Ani Mispal Da'azatin. Now the boy said today is Tuesday. Tomorrow will be a shir. I'm stopping now. Tomorrow is shir. We're going to read the rest of the perek, at least almost to the rest of the perek. And in this, the Tzemach Tzedek is Poshet explaining the tshuva. There's 2 parts to the tshuva that the Rebbe quotes. The first part of the tshuva is to explain that davening with kavon is not avodah zarah. And the second part of the tshuva is the kasha. The kasha is going to be repeated again at the very end of Perek Ches, and it's going to be answered in Perek Tes. And that's what's neged to us. What's neged to us is really Perek Tes. So tomorrow, which is Wednesday, we are going to learn the Tzemach Tzedek's explaining the words of this Mekubal Don Yosef Zal, who compares davening to the Eibusher to the Svidis, like coming to a king and asking him to speak to a judge or to a treasurer or to a bartender or to a butler. And then we'll see what happens going forward. Does anybody know the schedule of Shavuos? In other words, what's happening Thursday and what's happening Sunday?
Officially, on the schedule on the wall, Thursday and Sunday is off. Monday, she starts again.
Okay, now, Now that you told me the official, can you tell me the actual?
Probably the same thing.